And boom, we are live. GM, everybody. How's everyone doing this week? So, I had a pretty decent week. Finally, some markets started moving, and when I say moving, I actually mean moving and not this pop and chop, what I started calling it, where something just gets the initial momentum and immediately dies off. But actually, it gets the momentum, pulls back, reaccumulates, and continues. And once that starts happening, our trend following systems are gonna perform much, much better, I guess. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to see how I performed in terms of whether I was making mistakes or not. I did say a lot of no to trades this week. There was a lot of trades that were gray areas, or they were, let's call them B tier setups. Okay, they were not perfect, but they were there, and I had to really, really restrain myself and say no to them. And I recorded a few of those as well, so you're gonna see a lot of didn't take this week, just so that I can revisit it later, well, now, during the batch analysis and see why I didn't take them and whether or not it was the right decision. And I believe it was, but we're gonna see. So yeah, that's why I have a few more trades here than usual. And yeah, overall, I know that the results are positive. I caught some winners, which is super nice. Let's just see. Well, let's see if those were mistakes or not. Anyway, let's go over last week's what went well. So, followed my rules well. I think that's already like 3 weeks in a row. Yeah, 3 weeks in a row that I followed my rules well. I'm super super happy about that. Well, I still need to get myself out of the drawdown. Of course, that's going to take some time. But as long as I can continue following my rules, that's going to be proof to me that I am getting better at that skill, which is one of the most crucial skills ever for a trader. So that is very good. Anyway, I was very patient and I minded my own business. Perfect. What went bad? One questionable entry. So this entry over here, I see that the stage two over here was a bit weak, I guess. Let me get the white one. Yeah, the stage two here was a bit weak, a bit wicky. I can see I don't like that too much. And yeah, the flush was not really that deep. So yeah, I did not like that one. And the results overall were -1. If I filtered out that one mistake, it would be minus zero point 0.8, which is amazing. I mean, I don't know how many trades I had. One, two, three, four, five. Five trades. 5 times I get to get involved in markets that are doing exactly what most of my winners do. And 5 times it didn't work out, but I only paid commissions. That's perfect. Like, I took my opportunities, didn't get the result, but it's all good. So this week, it looks like I'm focusing on the exact same stuff because there was nothing really to point out based on mistakes, because this section over here is mostly based on mistakes that I do, and then I'm trying to correct them. So once again, I need to mind my own business, not really look what Trade Talk does or anyone else does. This is my system, and I need to perform well on my own set of rules. Don't trade stage one on C, of course. This is all just about kind of patience, I guess, and not really looking at the E when it's not supposed to be looked at. Track markets well, use alerts, trade strong stage twos, and don't hesitate. Nice. All right, let's get into it. So let me prepare my Notion over here. So we have this week, and first trade is a Euro USD -1. I guess that's on Monday. All right. So what do we have? We have an ongoing uptrend over here that eventually breaks down. When that happens, my instant assumption, as always, is that there's going to be some kind of stage one. This is a little bit like, what am I trying to say here? This is a 1 hour, right? If I looked at the 4 hour, it would be much cleaner, where the 4 hour would have a momentum cycle that just breaks down below the EMAs. And there I would expect a stage one and a breakout out. Breakout out. I don't know if that makes sense to say, but I guess I understand. But yeah, as always, the expectation is some kind of sideways price action that creates a resistance and eventually breaks out. And as it does that, I can start trading it because the expectation is that all of this is a reaccumulation and we continue up higher, right? You can see I already had some trades over here. Perfect area to trade. And here it goes a little bit higher, pulls back, still above the rising 1020 EMA. Perfect area to trade. Here it creates an MMB and then it breaks out with big momentum. So let's take a look at the 6 minute over here. So I would say this is a stage one, of course, and then eventually it breaks out over here on huge momentum. On the 1 minute, we can see that. I mean, yeah, this looks like somebody pressed the buy button. Lots of inefficiency, tiny little sell candles against my direction. Yeah, this looks amazing. And as it pulls back into the rising 1020 EMA, I'm valid to step down to the 10-second and look for my entry. And what do I have here? So first things first, this stage two looks amazing. So the moment this happens, I'm already like, yes, I'm valid to trade this. Now I just need to see the pullback. The pullback should ideally not be too deep. It should be relatively shallow. And once it does that, I'm looking for reignition, which is the MB1 validation, and then a similarly sized MB2. That's exactly what happens over here. The MB1 ends up being this one. Strong validation, reignition, whatever you want to call it. This is exactly what I like to see. Pulls back, doesn't lose the EMAs. Similar size. I set up my buy stop. Very happy with this. I get tapped in and instantly fucked up. And you know what? That's totally fine. Those are, in my opinion, the best losses that I don't have to wait for. This is totally fine. Like, I get these type of losses all the time, and I think they're good losses. So overall, I would call this a perfect trade, honestly. So let's mark it up. S. All right. So this is just gonna say good momentum over here as always. This is a stage one breakout on good momentum. This is good momentum. And this is a perfect DMB in my opinion. Perfect entry. Yep. Perfect entry. So overall, I think this is perfect. All right, let me mark that up here. Everything yellow, just the way I like to see it. And management-wise, yeah, there was nothing to do. So overall, perfect. Very nice. Moving on, I was following USD CHF. So what do we have here? Some kind of stage one, probably over here, right? And then we have a very strong momentum cycle happening here that loses all of its momentum, fizzles a little bit. Maybe it was valid to follow something over here, but this ended up all being just wiki trash. And then eventually, as it breaks down, like I'm looking at the institutional structure, of course, which is like the low is somewhere over here. As long as we are above, there's probably some kind of demand zones here or whatnot. As long as we are above, we're pretty good. But of course, I want to see that reignition first. So as all of this happens, pretty much like, okay, I assume reaccumulation like here, right? Then this kind of stuff happens. I'm still assuming reaccumulation here. I would probably start trading. As it loses this level, I'm no longer interested, not interested, looking for some kind of stage one to form first. That happens pretty much over here. And as it breaks higher over here, I wouldn't immediately trade here. I think I would wait for the reaccumulation first to a confirmed reaccumulation to confirm my direction, and then I would start trading. And that's pretty much what happens here. I would say this is an MMB, and as it breaks higher, any momentum over here, in my opinion, is like a clear continuation. That's what the market wants to do, and that's where I'm going to follow. So here on the 6 minute, what do we have? Looks like there's probably some kind of stage one over here somewhere, and it starts trending, right? This is most definitely a flush. So from here, I think that we can have a whole new momentum cycle and a continuation higher. So when this kind of momentum happens, as it pulls back, I'm of course going to be looking for entries because we are above the rising 10-20 EMA. Perfect, perfect place to look for trades. So here, this is the momentum cycle. In my opinion, very strong stage 2. As always, that's the first thing I analyze. If the stage 2 is not strong, I'm not even valid or qualified to look for trades. So this is the number one, the first rule that needs to be met. Here it is met, and as it's moving higher, I'm like, okay, now I'm just going to wait for my entry. So here, I already was looking for an entry through this one, but that did not set up. Instead, it fizzled out again. So now I'm once again looking for another entry because we are still valid to enter. And here we have an MB, strong MB1 validation, and this is MB2 over here. Similar size, looks pretty much perfect, I would say, above the rising 1020. Everything looks exactly the way I want it to look. On top of that, it also liquidated something over here. So if it just wanted to redistribute, it could fuck off right now, but it doesn't. Instead, it goes higher, taps me in, and this one, it just taps me in and starts fucking around a little bit up until this point over here. Pretty much the moment it loses its momentum cycle, that's the moment that I set my TP to 0 and I'm trying to get out at break even. So let's see how that plays out. So yes, over here, as this candle closed, I'm trying to get out at break even, and right here, I get out at break even. So I call this break even from below, and I think that was perfect. I'm very happy with how I managed here. So this looks like another perfect trade. So good momentum on the C, most definitely. Just sync it up here. Nice. Good momentum here on the 6 minute. And this was a 1 minute entry. 1 minute entry. And I would say this was a perfect entry. Perfect entry. Which overall gives this a perfect. Very nice. So all yellow. This was an entry. So 1 minute entry. And management-wise, that was very much perfect. Exactly what I like to do. So yeah, perfect trade. Beautiful. Moving on, we got a GU trade. It's already 3 different assets that I traded. Nice. I mean, a few times this week there was both EU and GU setting up, and I had to choose which one I want to trade. I felt like EU was generally the stronger one, but I don't remember exactly like how this relativity went. Uh, but either way, if I couldn't take a trade in both. That's the most important thing, because taking a trade on both EU and GU, in my opinion, is just taking on double risk, and it makes absolutely no sense. So I actually think that when it comes to this trade, that there's going to be something relatively interesting here. Yes, I remember. Okay. So I'll get to that. Let's first analyze the trade itself. So here, probably some kind of stage 1 over here, doesn't quite matter. What's important here is that it breaks out very strongly, pulls back into the rising 1020, right, loses it for a very short time over here, but this is most likely, well, this is still an MMB, like most definitely. It is a stage 1, it's a lost momentum cycle, but it's still a reaccumulation, so of course the expectation is bullish here. And as it moves higher here, this is an MMB, this is another MMB. By no means does this look overextended, so this is amazing context for longs. So I'm happy to follow. Here on the 6 minute, we had some kind of big push over here, and as it loses its momentum cycle, I'm once again looking for some kind of stage 1. So usually what I tend to do is when I already assume the stage 1 and I can see a clear place from which supply dropped on the market, which is over here, I kind of just draw out this, like this over here. This is where I anticipate my resistance to be. I usually draw out a whole supply zone like this. And pretty much I'm expecting that whenever price comes into here, it starts fucking around. Maybe sometimes it even liquidates this and then fucks around. I call this range shenanigans. And I pretty much don't look for any trades whatsoever over here. I just wait for this to break out convincingly, because after this point, this is where I tend to find edge. So here it breaks out very, very strongly. Let's take a look at the 1 minute. So once again, this is the stage one. Breaks out very strongly, pulls back into the rising 1020 EMA. One thing that I did not like, and I said this many times already, and I still don't know how I'm going to approach it, is that oh, this actually did it liquidate this point? I'm not sure. But sometimes when there's a like high time frame liquidity point and it just liquidates it with like big momentum, I'm sometimes hesitant to continue taking a trade because that's like an obvious liquidity point where there's going to be like anybody who shorted or many people who shorted in this area are going to put their stop loss over here, right? So as that gets liquidated, uh like sometimes it just runs through violently. Other times it wicks it and then it like goes for some liquidity on the other side, like let's say over here or let's say over here before it continues its run. And I'm not entirely sure yet how I'm going to approach it. I'm paying attention to it, but for now I'm just yeah, I'm pretty much I guess you could say ignoring it. So here I'm valid to trade simply because of the rules of the momentum cycle. So here on the 10 second, what do I see? So this is my entry. Okay, this is the validation. So let's see what the MB was. I would say pretty much this whole thing was the MB. Let me set this up properly. Boop. This whole thing was, in my opinion, the MB. So let's see. This looks pretty proportional. Yeah, this looks pretty nice. I mean, yeah, yeah, this is okay. This is just, it looks a little bit different from like those fast trades that I usually do, but this is simply for the reason of fractality. If I went to maybe a 15 second or a 20 second, something like that, this would be a little bit more compressed and it would look exactly the same as most of my entries. So knowing that, I feel pretty confident setting up this buy stop. And what happens over here? Uh, so yeah, yes, I remember. What happens over here is I have my buy stop over here, but actually it taps me in somewhere over here, which is absolutely crazy, right? Because it gaps over this entire thing and then it taps me in with spread. So what I actually do is the moment it gives me an opportunity, I pretty much sell it for break even immediately because my setup basically got completely fucked up here. It's no longer the setup that I actually want to have. And when something like that happens, and it does happen in live markets, unfortunately, I just try to get out of at break even and chill. So yeah, I think this trade was overall really nice though. I'm very happy with this trade. So good momentum as always. Here we have a stage one breakout on good momentum. Okay, here, same thing, stage one breakout on good momentum. Okay, and here I would say this is a perfect entry. It's not so much about the pattern as it is about the price action principle itself. And price action wise, this did exactly what I wanted it to do. And here, I shall close this at a break even because I got hardcore slipped into my entry, making my stop loss double size. Yeah, and I don't remember exactly where I closed it, but yeah, I closed it very, very quickly. And it would have been a beautiful win. Yeah, well, shit happens, you know. It would have been a beautiful win, but we don't play the game of could have, would have, what if, blah blah blah. This just this was a bit unfortunate, and those things are going to happen, and I need to be okay with that. But I remember what happened right afterwards, and I did not want to have trade open in both GU and EU, but the moment that I closed this trade, I was valid to look for a re-entry, and guess what? EU actually offered me an entry, and that ended up being a win. But before we get into that, let me mark all of this up. I think this was a 10-second entry, wasn't it? Yes, sir. And management-wise, that was perfect as well. Yeah, very, very happy with this. So that was perfect. Perfect. So yeah, now I don't have any risk on GU anymore. And guess what? EU was behaving very, very similarly. And let's take a look what happened over here. So EU, some kind of stage one over here, broke out, right? Here the reaccumulation, very similar to GU, and here it continues its run, just creating an MB over here, pulling into the rising 1020 EMA. Perfect context. Here we have some kind of uptrend, right? Breaks down, instantly assume some kind of reaccumulation. So this is my stage one, breaks out on big momentum, pulls back, and this is where I'm going to look for a trade. On the 1 minute, big momentum, already an uptrend, pulls back into the rising 1020, doesn't lose it, just wicks it a little bit, which is okay for me. And here, if I get a DMB, I'm very happy to take it because I expect that it's going to continue. Okay, so here, stage two, right? First thing I analyze is this. This stage two looks pretty good. You can see a lot of these boxes, a lot of inefficiency left behind, very strong moves into my direction, and relatively small moves against my direction. Generally doesn't lose the 1020 EMA, but when it does, it just kind of fishes for liquidity and immediately pumps. That's what's important for me. Like, I am okay allowing some kind of move below the EMAs as long as the reaction from there is wild. If I can see that, hey, this pullback over here, it didn't like just trade below for a long time, but it actually just went below to fish for some liquidity and then it immediately pumps higher, I still consider that significant strength. So here we get this kind of setup over here, right? Like it starts trading below the 50. So at that point, I have a rule that once it starts trading below the 50 for a longer amount of time, I just have to draw out the containment line or diagonal, whatever you want to call it. And I have to wait for a breakout out of there. And sure enough, that happens over here on very, very big momentum. Looks like somebody pressed the buy button. Here it pulls back, it creates one resting candle. At least that's my rule. I have to have a resting candle. A resting candle means that the high is either equal or ideally lower. Here I think it's equal, and that allows me to set up my buy stop. Let me just very quickly look at the MB. So I would say the MB is this one. Pretty sure about that. And this is MB2. That looks very nice, very similar. And yeah, that taps me in. And pretty much instantly, not instantly, but very, very quickly delivers for a +5. So the way I managed over here, yeah, I think I really made the screenshot a little bit too late, but I would say pretty much on this candle over here, the last one with the inefficiency, that's where I moved to break even. And yeah, there's just one tick stop, one tick spread on GU on Ment Funding, so I immediately reduce risk completely, and that gives me my +5. So yeah, that was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So pretty much uh, exactly the same kind of context as on GU, except that here this looks a little bit different. The 1 minute. Here it's already trending because it pulled back before and broke out higher. So it's no longer just a stage one breakout. It's literally just a trend with on good momentum. And this is a perfect entry. Yeah. Awesome. That's another perfect trade. I'm very happy with that. So good context, good momentum, good momentum, good entry, and perfect management. Nice. And this ends up running to 6.12. I just keep track of that. Not that it's too important. Currently sitting at +5 with this. I'm very happy with that. Anyway, continuing on, we have another Euro USD trade. So let's take a look what happens over here. We can probably see that on the 6 minute. Wait a second. What's going on here? I see. Okay, so here on the 6 minutes, we can see this is the previous trade that I took. Here it reached the 6.12, and then it fucks off lower, right? Loses its momentum cycle. I immediately assume some kind of stage one, and if it breaks out, I'm going to be valid to take it because, well, everything is pointing in one direction, right? So here, this is the stage one pretty much. Here, big momentum, pulls back to the rising 1020. Let's take a look what this looks like on the 10 second. Yep, this is the major flush over here. This is the stage one, right? And this this trade is it's a bit weird. Isn't this a 1 minute entry? I think this is a 1 minute entry. Let me see. So I had a buy stop on both EU and GU at this point, and EU tapped me in first, so I canceled GU. I see. So I'm just wondering what the heck this is. Let me see. Yeah, this must be a 1 minute entry in that case. Okay, so here we have the stage two, right? Generally, very strong stage two stays above the rising EMAs. Big moves in my direction, leaving inefficiency behind, small moves, shallow pullbacks against my direction, and then we have this. I instantly, of course, assume reaccumulation. So here, let's take a look how the DMB looked like. So I would say this is definitely MB1, and this would be MB2. Yes, this is definitely what happened over here. It's just that I have the 10 second here because I use the 10 second to also decide on my break-even rule. But this is definitely a 1 minute entry over here. So this is the same context very much. So it's good momentum over here. Here it's a stage one breakout. No, this is already just good momentum. This is already trending. And here I would say, I think it's a little bit too deep, honestly. Like for a reaccumulation, I think it's a bit too deep. Like usually I like to see a shallow pullback, right? So I like to see my setup happening maybe somewhere over here. That would be perfect. But here it like goes super, super deep. Does it liquidate anything here? I'm not sure. Probably does. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like this trade too much, to be honest. I mean, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Nah, nah, it's okay. It's okay. So this goes hand in hand with the understanding of demand zones that I already talked about a few times. Let me see. Can I get green? Green. Okay, cool. So here there's a clear demand zone. Whoop, I'm gonna just draw it in here. There's a clear demand zone over here on the 6 minutes. So as long as this range, this three box range holds, right, I should be valid to look for a trade. Here it pulls into the demand zone after a strong stage two. This should still be all valid. And then I get my DMB setup, which looks perfect. No, actually, this is all good. This is all good. So I'm going to call this perfect entry as well. Perfect entry. All right. Yeah, it just took me a while to remember this because this is a relatively new thing that I do. And every time I have a new thing, it takes a couple of some experience, right? A couple of weeks of repetition to actually drill it into my mind and remember it because I haven't been using this understanding of the demand zones for a while. Maybe I can draw this demand zone in nicer. Like, this doesn't look good. I'm just going to do this. Boop. Yeah, it looks horrible, but whatever, as long as I understand. So yeah, this was another perfect trade. Beautiful, beautiful. So good. Let's see. Good context here, good momentum, and this is a good entry on the 1 minute. And management wise, so I look at the 10 second over here, right? I don't quite feel comfortable like reducing my risk here yet, but then it starts creating this fractal structure above my entry, and as it breaks out of there, I move to break even. So I would say management-wise, that was perfect as well, and that deserves a perfect. That goes to just 1.21 and then returns to break even. All good. Okay, and here I'm going to have a couple of trades that I did not take, and let's take a look why I didn't. So continuing on Euro USD, let's take a look at the 6 minute. What happened? Okay, so previously we were over here, right? We broke out. Here we had the demand zone that we talked about, pushed into that demand, and from there continued higher. A little bit unfortunate, it seems like, because I was right about direction completely, but I didn't get to reap the benefits of it. I didn't get to reap the rewards. So my entry was previously here, and it comes back to tap me out and then continues higher. Shit happens, that's okay. So on the 1 minute, we can see this was the previous entry, went higher, liquidates me, does some shenanigans over here, and then breaks out on very big momentum above all of this and pulls back to the rising 1020, and I can pretty much look for an entry there. And the entry, yes, I remember this one. I didn't like this entry for two reasons. Number one, this MB, I would like it to be a little bit deeper. And number two, although there is a lot of inefficiency left behind and a demand zone here, right? Over here, it just started chopping quite a lot. And based on what would be valid for me is this would be the first valid point for me to buy because that has one resting candle that has a high equal or below the previous one. So this would be the first valid entry for me. But for these two reasons, like it didn't look what my good entries usually look like. And also the MBs were not very symmetrical, I would say, or symmetrical is the wrong word, I think. Uh, they didn't look proportional, okay, clearly. So that's why I didn't take it. And this would have tapped me in, and there was not enough juice, and it came back to break even. So I did say no to this, and I'm happy I did say no to that. Anyway, let me just very quickly mark this up. So this is all the same. Good momentum over here. So the context of this trade is definitely good. I was looking for a trade in the right area, but the entry itself was ugly in my opinion, and that's why I didn't take it. Ugly. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So I don't quite know what I'm supposed to do here. Like, am I supposed to say perfect? Perfect that I did not take it? I think so. I think so. I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. I might need like maybe a new property for the trades that I didn't take because I decided to start keeping track of the trades that I don't take just to see whether it's the right decision or not, if it makes sense. And I think this definitely was the right decision. It simply didn't meet rules. So here I didn't take because it looked weird. Okay, risk-free, break-even, no other comments. Cool. So yeah, the context overall was very, very good, but the entry was ugly. Ugly entry, ugly Y. MB1 didn't pull back enough, and MB2 was just straight up invalid. Yeah, and I think I can write MB1 not deep enough. That's what I wanted. Yes, not deep enough. I guess I could change that to shallow. This is too long. Too shallow. Yes. MB1 too shallow and MB2 invalid. Yes. All right, cool. So management-wise, I would have been risk-free after this big candle, of course. Why wouldn't I be? So that was perfect. Okay, cool. Moving on, another Euro USD trade. So let's take a look what happened over here on the 1 minute, for example. So actually on the 10 second, we can see immediately that this is the previous entry that I didn't take, but then it pulls back here and goes below nicely, and here it creates this DMB. And actually, yeah, I remember this one. This trade I should have taken, but I didn't. Let me sip my coffee for a bit. All right, this trade I should have taken, but I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because it literally didn't occur to me. Like, it did not occur to me that I should be taking another trade. And this is just like, this is the process of multiple things that you need to be doing when you're trading the 10-second entries, right? You might, for example, get into a situation where you will have one of these moments where you start following something that you should have, that you could have entered but you didn't, and you just look at how it plays out anyway. And because of that, you forget that you are still valid to take better DMB setups in the same range, right? And that's exactly what happened to me. I just kind of forgot that I should continue following this. And here, this setup, in my opinion, was very nice because if we take a look at the MBs, I would say this is probably the MB. Yeah, this MB looks pretty much proportional, looks nice. So this setup was all of a sudden valid, and I should have taken it, and I missed it. Yeah, it does come back to break even, but it could have very well continued higher and given me a +5. And at that point, it's a mistake that's worth not just -1, it's worth -5. And that's not good. Do I have any comments here? I didn't take this because I was still watching how the previous entry would work out. Kinda bamboozled there. This has never happened before. Yes, exactly what I'm talking about. So this has never happened before to me, and it there will definitely be moments where this happens again, and I need to be aware of this. I cannot let it let it prevent me from taking valid trades. So I need to take some notes here, and I need to be aware. I have my rule of three, right? That only after it happens 3 times do I actually start troubleshooting it. But even if it happens once or twice, it's totally fine to at least take a note and like be aware of it at least, right? But if this continues happening more and more, I'm going to start writing it into those sections of what to focus on this week. But for now, this is just like, this is a new type of mistake that I didn't know before. And yeah, I'm going to treat it that way. Anyway, context-wise, it's exactly the same, right? It literally happens a few seconds later. So I can copy this. And here, this entry was actually perfect. This is a perfect entry. And I did not take it, which is a mistake. Mistake. I'm going to write should have taken. All right. So how am I going to do this? So here I have didn't take, should have taken, why didn't take, hesitated. So I probably even had it on my eyes, but I guess I didn't set it up quickly enough or some stuff because it happened fairly quick. You can see there's just one, maybe two resting candles. One, two resting candles. So I had 20 seconds to set it up, but I guess yeah, I don't know what happened. I was bamboozled. It caught me off guard pretty much. That's what I'm gonna say. It caught me off guard, and because of that, I missed it. So what am I going to do here? Anyway, this is how I would have managed. Of course, on this big candle over here, I would be risk-free, and then it comes back to break even. So let me mark it up first. Good context, good momentum, good entry. Management wise would be perfect as well. And what? How should I document this, man? Mm, yeah, I'm going to add a lesson over here, so it's going to show up in my lessons, and I will see this. So this caught me off guard. I need to be aware of the fact that there can be another setup in the same range. I guess I'm just gonna write that. Okay, so that's that. And now let's go to another trade, which is USD CHF. So here, this looks insane, right? This looks like absolutely amazing momentum. I think this is pretty much self-explanatory. Here, this is also absolutely insane momentum. Here as well, but maybe a bit overextended. Let me see. So we have some kind of stage 1 over here, and then it breaks out for MB1, and this is MB2. So strictly MB wise, I should be valid to take this, right? But I guess what I didn't like is that this just looked way too like I thought it's pretty unreasonable to look for another 5R here, and so I was looking for this, right, for another move like that. And after such a huge sprint, I didn't feel comfortable enough to take this trade. I felt like I'm chasing the pump here, and I would much rather wait for this to maybe flush and then start a new momentum cycle. That's why I didn't take it. But anyway, here the stage 2, so it comes from over here. I would say this is some kind of stage 1, and this stage 2 over here looks very strong. Then it pulls back. Let's take a look at the MBs, how they looked. So I would say that this is a pretty clear MB, and yeah, this actually doesn't look nice anyway. Like this does not look proportional whatsoever. So yeah, that's probably why I didn't take it. I say here that I didn't take this because it looked overextended, but actually it's also uh, uh, because it looked weird. Mm, and it didn't meet rules. Yeah, it didn't meet rules. This DMB is ugly, straight up. So yeah, ugly entry, and that's why I didn't take it. So I'm actually very happy that I did not take that. It does look luring though. Like it took quite a lot of restraint to not take some of these trades because I just thought, yeah, like everything from the top down, like from the 1 hour, 6 minute, 1 minute, everything looks great. Like I want to be in the move, man. I felt the FOMO, but I just decided that from now on, I really want to be as professional as I can in this regard. And if it doesn't meet rules, I am not going to talk myself into it. I'm not going to allow myself to take trades that do not meet those rules, even if they end up being winners. I'm just going to document it, and then I can look at it during my batch analysis and see if there are any decisions that need to be made in regards to some changes or whatnot. But so far, I'm very, very happy with how I have treated all of this. Very good stuff that I said no to this. So yeah, this was good. I don't know again how to mark this up because of course this trade is not perfect, but it's perfect that I didn't take it. So hmm, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, let me mark it up. Good contact, good momentum, and boop, ugly entry. Why? Mm, Why indeed MB2 too big? Did it lose EMAs? Did it lose EMAs? No, it didn't, but it's too big. So, yep. Management wise, I would be risk free after this candle. That makes total sense. So, that would be perfect. So, I guess I can mark it with perfect, honestly, because, yeah, it's just perfect that I didn't take it. Perfect. Okay, so how are we doing so far? Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, so the only mistake is that I should have taken one trade that I didn't take. That's the only mistake so far. Very nice. So moving on, there is a NAS 100 trades, only 4 trades left. So let's take a look what happened over here. So this looks a little bit compressed because of the EMA 50 over here, which like makes it all a little bit bigger. Like ideally this would look a little bit different, but whatever. We can see what's happening here very nicely. Like clearly this is an uptrend, right? Clearly it's a momentum cycle. So context-wise, this is very good. And here on the 6 minute, there was a momentum cycle going on here, and then it breaks down. I instantly assume some kind of stage 1. So I probably assumed this one. Maybe I was already looking for some trades here. I'm not quite sure, but doesn't really matter. Then it broke out over here, pulled back. I remember I wasn't looking for anything over here because this stage 2 is weak and choppy and ugly as fuck. But here, all of a sudden, like it pulls back to the rising 1020 prime area, right? And then all of a sudden, huge, huge momentum breaking into new highs and making this a valid MMB. So I should be okay watching for a trade. And here we are. The stage two over here. It's all right. It's all right. It's it's a bit wiki, a little bit wiki, I would say. Maybe could have not traded it for that reason, but still, I thought this looks pretty good. Lots of inefficiency left behind, valid demand zones left behind, shallow pullbacks, small sell candles. I thought this is all right. If anything, this might have been a little bit of a gray zone, uh, and that's simply because of the wiki stuff. Anyway, here it pulls back to the 1020, right? So let's take a look how the entry actually looked. So here it pulls back. I remember I was already looking for an entry over here, but that does not set up because this keeps printing new highs. Then it re-breaks down. So I'm looking for strong validation once again, which is this one. And now I'm looking for a DMB here. And honestly, this does not look the best. This looks a little bit weird. Looks very different from how my usual trades look like. Like, yes, the stage 2 over here is very nice. I like the stage 2. It's pretty strong. But then, like here, I don't know, man. Like, big wick over here. So you can see that I didn't include the wick in the MB markup, but maybe I should have. I'm not sure. I probably just fitted it to my bias to say, hey, this actually is proportional, while it might not be. And also, this breakout over here with the gap, I don't know, it just looks a little bit weird. But I think it's still like all right. Mm. It's definitely not perfect. Let's be honest. It's not perfect, but I would say it's good. I would say it's good. It's maybe a little bit questionable. Yeah, maybe a little bit questionable. Anyway, taps me in and instantly fucks me up. So that's nice, at least. Those are the good losses, in my opinion. So I'm going to call this trade good. I don't think it was perfect, but I think it followed rules fairly well. So there was good momentum over here, good momentum over here, good momentum over here. I'm going to say maybe a little bit wiki. Okay. And this MB, mm, yeah, it's good. Good entry. Maybe questionable entry. I don't know. I do not know. I'm going to be harsher with myself than I have to be. Questionable entry. I'm going to call it a questionable entry, and I'm probably going to call this a mistake. Let's see. Would I take this trade 1,000 times in a row? Would I take this trade 1,000? I actually think I would. As far as my understanding goes currently, and as far as my rule go, I think I would take this trade many times because it does look good. Like it definitely does. Yeah, okay. So I'm not gonna call it questionable. I'm gonna call it good. Good entry. Okay. So good. Let's mark it up. Good context, good momentum, good momentum, and a little bit wiki. Do I have wiki here? Wiki. Bruh. Wiki. I don't. Okay, so let's include that. A little bit wiki. 10-second. Good entry. And a little bit choppy, I would say. So yeah, these are the reasons why it's a good trade and not a perfect trade. Management-wise, yeah, nothing to do. All right. Moving on, we got another trade on US 100, and this is a win. So let's take a look what happened over here. So here on the 6 minute. Previously, we were over here. Let me just see. So this is the breakout. This is this. Okay, this is that. I see. So yeah, here it went up here. This is where I was looking for a trade, and it didn't have enough juice in it, I guess. Was that a -1? Actually, yes, it was a -1. Okay, okay. And then it starts chopping, right? And as it starts chopping, I draw my diagonal, and I'm looking for a strong breakout. above both the diagonal and the point that caused some kind of supply. Here I get a breakout above all of that, which is beautiful. Take a look at the 1 minute. Did I look for a trade here already? I'm not sure. Maybe I did, but probably didn't get anything. But here it starts moving higher and pulls back into the rising 1020 EMA. Exactly what I like to see. And here is my entry. So take a look at it. Is this a... What's going on here? Okay. Okay, so first thing that comes to mind here is that the EMAs are very flat. The EMAs are very flat, and it broke below the EMAs, but instantly pumped back, right? I'm allowed this scenario where if it goes below and instantly pumps into my entry, I'm okay with taking it. But let me see. So, okay, so the MBs are most certainly here. Probably make it a little bit bigger just to encompass everything. Okay, this is the MB. So, I see. So the MB1 is below the EMAs, which is good. The MB1 validation is fairly strong. The MB2 is valid as well. But something about this I don't like too much. And I think what I don't like is the fact that this whole thing looks like an MB. I see. This whole thing looks like an MB, and this is the follow-up. It's definitely not perfect, but it's good. I think it's good. These are both a bit bigger than I would want. But overall, it's not bad, per se. It's okay. Yeah. Was I looking for an entry here as well? Why not? This looks pretty valid. Yeah, anyway, let me just mark it up. I think this is exactly the same type of context, right? Whoa, 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 what just happened? What was that? Okay, okay, cool. I'm back. So there was definitely good momentum on the 60. This is a stage 1 breakout on good momentum. Stage 1 breakout on good momentum. This is good momentum most definitely. And this is, I'm going to call it a good entry, but it's most definitely not a perfect entry. What would make it a perfect entry? If this was higher, because if this was higher, MB1 validation would be a little bit stronger, and the pullback would be into the rising EMAs if it was higher. So I'm going to write that down here as well. MB2 could be higher. Yeah. And how did I manage this? So I get tapped in and pretty much, yeah, I think I don't know, man. I think I could have moved to break even already, like right after this big strong candle. But here I reduce risk twice, right? Because spread on NAS 100 is a bit wider. So I definitely, like you can see this little difference between the orange line. Is it orange? I can't tell. And the actual entry, so the intended entry and the actual entry, the spread is quite big. I would say this spread represents maybe 20-25% of the entire stop loss. So I definitely reduce risk twice. And after it creates my fractal structure above here and it liquidates it, that's when I move completely to break even. And this one delivers to +5. So that's very nice. So good context, good momentum, good momentum. I think it's a 10-second entry, right? Yes. And here, it's a bit of a questionable entry. And questionable why? MB2. Mm-hmm. Too low. Yeah, okay. MB2 too low. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put it over here. Oh, okay. So I have too low, too high. I have too big, too small. Good. Lost EMAs. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's that, and management-wise, it was perfect. So overall, I'm gonna give this a good because the entry was a little bit questionable. By the way, that reminds me that here I should say not good entry, but questionable entry. Yep. Okay. Closed. Good stuff. So yeah, that's that, and I'm gonna call it good. All right, two more trades to go. Another trade over here that I did not take, and this is another US 100 trade. Ah, yes, and I think I should have taken this one actually. Okay, so it's exactly the same. Yeah, here we can see a little bit more of a zoomed out version of this. That's what I was talking about initially, where we can see that this is actually really good momentum. Here we have a stage one breakout on good momentum once again. And what's the difference here? What's the difference on the 1 minute, for example? Okay, so we can see the previous entry was over here. Then it went higher and pulled back once again to the rising 1020. So we have MMB1, MMB2. This is now in MMB3. So by no means overextended. This can most definitely pop and continue. And what do we have here? Okay, so we have this, and okay. Well, actually, I should not have taken this trade, I think. Let me see. Well, here I would probably analyze this entire stage 2 to see whether it makes sense to actually enter or not. And here we have a clear demand zone. So, this is a strong stage 2, small cell candles. Yeah, this is actually quite valid, I would say. This was a strong breakout. Yeah, this actually looks pretty good. So let me see what the MBs look like. So the MBs are from where? I would say, well, I would say this whole thing is the MB. And then we have this. Okay, so this is relatively equal sized, I would say. Like I could maybe go as far as saying that okay, this is the actual MB because I can see there is a little bit of demand here. So yeah, this does look good. This does look good, and I should have probably taken it. Do I have any comments here? I automatically stopped following because I was already in a trade, but once my main trade is risk-free, I can continue following. Don't forget that. Okay. Yeah, so once again, I mean, this hasn't happened in a long time. In these last 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it was, of price being choppy and ugly, whenever I would get an entry, like most of the time it would just get fucked up and not even run anywhere. So I guess I kind of forgot what it looks like when you get a delivering market that continues pushing. And I fell out of practice, so to say. I totally like forgot that once I'm risk free on my first trade, I can pyramid in another trade, right? It hasn't happened for such a long time that I simply wasn't aware of that. So now that we are moving into a little bit of a more delivering market environment, I have to remind myself of that. So already, I'm gonna go over here and I'm going to write, so I don't forget, I'm going to write what went bad. What went bad was forgot to follow markets after my first entry was already risk-free. So I need to write that down here because this is going to happen many, many more times. I'm going to get many more opportunities, especially on 10-second entries, where I can miss out on a lot of wins if I forget about this stuff consistently. So I do not want to forget about this stuff. Anyway, here we have good momentum on the 1 minute. Just continuing the analysis here. And this DMB I actually think was perfect. Perfect DMB. All right. Actually, perfect entry. So I think this was a perfect trade. I really do. Perfect. But I should have taken it, which makes it a mistake ultimately. So here, didn't take, should have taken, yes, which makes it a mistake. All right, because it was perfect. Management-wise, I reduce risk on the follow-up of this candle. So the first candle, not yet. The second one, once I see it reaches higher, that's when I reduce. That's like quite far away from my entry. And I reduce twice again. So here I get my fractal structure above, and as it liquidates the high, that's when I got completely risk-free. And this one just barely doesn't reach. Didn't have enough juice. So I actually just ended up not taking this trade and saving on commissions, but this very well could have delivered to +5, and I would have missed on +5, which would be a big loss. And yeah, I really need to get better at this. So management was perfect. So yeah, this reaches 4.75 on my 5-hour fixed TP. Okay, and a last trade over here is a USD CHF, a trade that I also did not take. All right, this is break even. All right, so what's happening over here? So yeah, this is very clearly a trending market on good momentum. Here we have a stage 2 that breaks down. I instantly assume reaccumulation, and it breaks out again on very good momentum into new highs. Here we can see very good momentum on the 1 minute. So far looking pretty good. This is very strong, pulling back into the rising 1020 EMA, exactly what I like to see. And here we have the entry. So I assume something was wrong with the entry itself. So the MB1 is definitely this. This is my MB1. And now MB1 validation is pretty nice. I like that. And now the MB2 would be this one. And yeah, this is too long. This is way too long. If it tapped me in here immediately, I would probably still take it. But this ended up going sideways for longer than I would want to. And yeah, that's why I most likely didn't take it. Do I have any? Yeah, didn't like how MB2 lost EMAs. Yeah. That's why I didn't take it. So I'm happy that I did not take that. So I'm just gonna say, ugly entry. And because of that, this was a mistake. Well, actually, it's perfect that I did not take it. So nice. So everything leading to this trade was perfect, but the entry itself was ugly. Ugly why? Because MB2 was too long, and MB2 lost EMAs. Management-wise, I would be risk-free after the second candle, and pretty much right afterwards came back to break even. So that would be perfect as well. So overall, that's perfect. Very nice. Cool. So do I have everything taken care of? Everything is closed. Nice. So I don't have this NAS 100 trade closed. Let me just take a look here at NAS 100 and see if this was still ongoing. Which one was that? So that's a trade that happened somewhere over here. Okay, let's go back to it real quick. Just wondering if that's the trade or not. Okay, so this is the wick, this is this. Okay, and this ended up going to 7.51. Okay, so it's already closed. 7.51 was the max RR. Cool. Everything closed. Nice, nice. Okay, let's jump back to Miro over here and let's take a look at, well, first of all, I want to go into my weekly analysis and take a look at what happened over here. So if I filter out all the things that I didn't take and should have taken, that's what I should do. I need to play around with this a little more. Anyway, the overall results are plus 6.6R, which is great. I'm very, very happy with that. Plus 6.6R. And the results after filtering mistakes, yeah, that's when I go to perfect week over here, would be 6.2. And the reason for that is that the mistakes this week were mostly that I didn't take certain trades that I should have taken. I think there were two. 6.6, yeah, so two trades, 2 times 0.2 for commissions is 0.4, so that's why there's a 0.4 R difference. So, what went well this week? I would say I generally followed my rules really, really well. Followed rules well. That's a big one. I'm very happy about that. So let's take a look at the contexts that I traded. Beautiful context, beautiful trending context. Yes, 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 yes. All the momentum cycles, everything impulsive, lot of inefficiency. Beautiful. 6 minute should be the same stuff. Should be preceding trend, maybe loses momentum cycle, goes into sideways and breaks out again. So those are the two things pretty much I'm looking at. So this was perfect. This was perfect. This was perfect. Also perfect. Beautiful. Maybe a bit overextended. And I think also that's why I didn't take it. But yeah, perfect. Perfect. This one is a little bit different, but generally makes total sense because it's a sideways reaccumulation and reignition. So perfect. Perfect here as well. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. 1 minute, same stuff. If it's my V, then yeah, should have the same rules. If it's my E, there's going to be a DMB. So yep, beautiful stage two. All the momentum cycles again. Very nice. Very nice. Everything looks impulsive and strong. Lots of inefficiency. Valid demand zones. Shallow pullbacks. This is a bit of a deeper pullback, but still makes total sense because it comes back to a demand zone and sets up. This is good. This is beautiful. Yep, beautiful as well. This is an actual entry. This entry is good. Yep, beautiful. And entry-wise, those are the DMBs. This was a beautiful DMB. Absolutely perfect. This was a 1 minute entry. Beautiful DMB. Yes, beautiful DMB. Here, ugly DMB. That's why I didn't take it. Beautiful DMB. I remember I did not take this. I should have taken it. That's the mistake. Here, didn't take because it was ugly. That's perfect. Here, yeah, this is a little bit questionable, but still good. This one, again, a little bit questionable, but still good. And this one was perfect. This one I didn't take because it was ugly. Okay, good. So yeah, I really like it. I really like it. Very good DMBs overall. Very good entries. Uh, Followed good momentum everywhere. And yeah, generally super, super happy with how things went. What went bad was that I forgot to follow markets after my first entry is already risk-free. Yeah, didn't take a few trades that I should have taken. So that's pretty much the only criticism that I have right now. And both of those trades actually happened when I was already kind of in an entry. First time I wasn't really in an entry. There was an entry that I considered, but I didn't take it. But I was still watching how it plays out, and because of that, I totally forgot to actually take the follow-up entry. And the second time, I was already in an entry, and once I got my break-even rule, I just automatically stopped following because I totally forgot that I can pyramid in a trade. So yeah, that's just one thing that I need to pay more attention to. That's the only thing. So overall, I am very very happy with this week. So good. Anyway, if I take a look at this stuff, mistake. I didn't really make any mistakes in terms of entries taken. I just made mistakes in terms of not taking entries. So that's amazing. And yeah, that's that. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. What's gonna be my next week's focus? I'm going to add here one point. How am I going to call it? Uh, mhm. Don't forget to follow the market after you enter. I guess. I guess that makes some sense. Okay. Week 20 is gonna be 20. What's 20? Ugh, go higher. 27. There we go. 27. Put this over here. Yep, good. So I think that's all. Let me just take a look if I drew anything this week. I think I didn't. I think I didn't. Yeah, this is all the same. By the way, this drawing came in this week. I don't know if you remember, but that was the deep pullback into the demand zone, even like absorption over here, and then the ICI, and that was a beautiful entry actually. So good thing that I drew that out, and yeah, I think that's everything. Okay, overall, very happy with this week. I have like 5 weeks, 4 weeks in a row that I'm happy with my performance. When it comes to the actual performance here, you can see I'm still rocking a pretty deep drawdown, but a lot of like the drawdown over here was because of mistakes, simply because my rules were not tight enough, and they allowed me to start trading a bit too early, and or yeah, mostly I started trading too early and not necessarily in good momentum. Many stage one mistakes here. And I believe if I traded perfectly, this drawdown would actually not be as severe. It would be more like sideways with small, like mostly break evens, I would say, and an occasional win. I know that there were wins even in that terrible market environment that would keep me at break even, and that would pretty much allow me to now either be breaking into new all-time highs or getting near to those. So I'm hopeful. I really think that if I continue performing the way that I do, I will eventually get out of this drawdown, and once I do, I can start trading my funding challenge. I'm looking forward to that. It might take another couple of months, maybe. If that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. I don't mind. I'm going to spend that time well. I'm going to do some back testing as well to keep sharpening sharpening my skills, and I am very confident that I will get out of this. So, yeah, as always, if any of this sparked any ideas in you or any thoughts, let me know. Tag me in Trade Talk or shoot me a DM. I'm always happy to talk about trading. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekends, and I'll see you in the markets. Peace.